But let me read something to you. Something I found the other day that I think was interesting. I want to see if you can tell me who was this player. Hold on one second here. Great quote. Great quote. I haven't shot a basketball since probably April 15th. Who do you think that meant? It's an LA Laker.
Anthony Davis.
There you go. Just think about that. I saw him the other day. Came to my mind, right? I saw him the other day in the club kicking it. First of all, if I'm in the club, bro.
Wait, is this a real story?
Yes, it's a real story. He was in the club.
Story?
Yeah, he was in the club the other day kicking it. So the first thing that came to my mind is, okay, first, why are we recording this? Second, when's the last time this dude's worked out and shot a basketball? That was the second thing that came to my mind. Then I see.
Did he look out of shape, or this is just?
No, it's just like, okay, where are your priorities at, bro? Yeah. What's your passion? Kobe Bryant told a story one time. He was describing when he first started playing with Dwight Howard. He said he's sitting. Who told you the story was Jalen Rose. Kobe sitting with Jalen Rose. Phone rings. Kobe picks up. It's Dwight Howard on the other end. So Jalen was just talking to Kobe, and now he's listening to the conversation. And first thing Dwight Howard asked Kobe was, "So what's the nightlife like in LA? What's up with the clubs and what's up with the like the movie stars and stuff? Like, you get a chance to rub shoulders with them, and what's all that?" Kobe's on the phone, and he looks at Jalen, and he finishes the conversation. And then he hangs up and looks at Jason and said, "Can you believe this MF just asked me about club life?"
Yeah.
And Jalen said he knew right then and there, Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard will not work.
No. I don't know. I've never been a Dwight fan, man. I don't know. It's too much playfulness for me. And it's like, I know the game has changed, and it's like
he's like 8 or 9 years old all the time.
Yeah.
I remember when he went to Houston, right? And he had his press conference saying he's coming, like, announcing him as on the team. Hakeem Olajuwon came out. Ralph Sampson came out. And some other players came out from their history. And I thought to myself, I'm sitting at home watching this, like, these guys are wasting their time. They think Dwight Howard is about to be the next big man in the Houston Rockets uniform? And they get
one big
same thing. Go back to Anthony Davis. Like, what are we doing right now? You were hurt most of the season. You came back out of shape. You're in the first thing I see you in the off season. You're in the club. I don't know. Then you make a statement, which you probably should have kept to yourself. I haven't shot at basketball.
Yeah. How did that even become a public statement? Where's the source from, too? I gotta ask that. Do we have that?
I think this is. Hold on. It's from Hoops Nation.
Hoops Nation. I don't know. Here's my thing. Like, I give these guys the benefit of the doubt. This is a different time, right? In history, this is you can make a lot of money. It's not all based upon performance. Like, we see Anthony Davis. He's in these chip commercials. I think he's Mountain Dew. I don't know. He's in a bunch of different. He had a bunch of endorsement deals. I don't know if he has a shoe. I don't think he has a shoe deal. He wears Kobe's, but like, for him being the young man that he is, it's like, what? Like, how much is their back against the wall? As opposed to like the 90s, or especially the 80s. Like, maybe one or two guys have endorsements, but really, really your livelihood depends on your productivity on the basketball court. And it's not really their fault, right, for being in this unique position, unique time in history. it's got to be real hard to focus. It's already hard enough to focus as it is, just being a normal person. Then you get put on this grand stage, and you've been the best your entire life. And not only that, you get affirmation of being the best through social media, through people in your ear all the time, and to be a young man, and to be saying like that's a lot. It's a lot just
There's a
to
lot.
have those and not have that kind of bankroll, that type of those type of resources, and then to be on the grand stage like that. So I know they have a lot of programs in place that help these guys, like more so than ever before. I want to say I can't confirm that, but I hear about it in the NFL too. Like,
yep.
I
Time
think
and
they have the
money
most resources
and a whole bunch of stuff. How you pick your friends, who you're around.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yep.
And I'm a big I'm very grateful that they have that, because we see time and time again how many sad situations, like what's his name from the Raiders?
The wide receiver.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs, right? It's just a horrible situation, like all around. It's a horrible situation, and I'm trying to think of like how. For me, I was like, how did he get in that position? Right. And it's a sensitive subject, right? Like there's no excuse for it. Like
when I
no
heard about
excuse
that
for it at all.
morning,
Yeah.
I just thought, I hope this guy know his whole life has just changed.
Yeah, not only his life, right? Like there's many lives that change from it.
No, but I'm talking about like not just talking about playing football. You have on your mental that people aren't here anymore because you made a certain kind of decision. That's a lot, man. That's I just hope that he and families can move on, because that's it's counseling, it's conversations, it's, I don't know what his faith is like. I don't know anything, but that is not easy. I remember when I lived in St. Louis, there was a defensive end, I can't remember his name, for the Rams, who ran into a family similar to Ruggs, had left, I think, a club, bar, or something. I just don't. It's rough.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk about this stuff, like the sport itself and what this person's career is, that didn't even come to my mind.
No, and it never will. Like it never will be the topic of discussion ever.
No.
Same with Aaron Hernandez. Like no one's ever going to think about anything he did on the field. Ever.
I remember the first time I watched him play football, man, really, I thought, man, this dude's about to be a Hall of Fame tight end. This dude was, you talking about Gronk. Hernandez was different, man. He was different. Then you, like I watched a documentary on his life. And
yeah, I did too.
Man, that's something else.
It was wild. That was a wild documentary, right? Like I don't know. I'm very over analytical, and I'm always trying to think of like just how things could get to that point, right? For people, like especially when you're in this position to where you've literally worked, put everything you've had into what you've accomplished, and how that doesn't come and factor into certain decision making, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, like these guys, I don't care how good you are, you at some point have to have the discipline and work ethic to make it to the next level. Like, you can't just rely on your ability. So to not have that, that I don't even know what you want to call it. Lack of focus, even for a minute. Right? It's just, I don't know how you get in that situation, man. It's like, it's sad all the way around, right? Like for everybody.
I don't know. I always tell people about, I'm just happy I had the parents I had. I'm happy I think one of the biggest lotteries in the world is who your parents. Because you don't know. You don't have any control over that. You don't know if those people are going to teach you, but they're not going to teach you. And I'm not saying all this is parenting. I'm just telling you about me. I'm just happy that I got a young man and a young lady to spend some time with me, talk to me, keep me out of stuff. I tell people all the time I'm from the south side of Chicago, the wild wilds of Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
I grew up in my parents' house. Right. There were a bunch of stuff. My parents were strict, man. Like I see kids walking down the street and all that. Like I've never done that day in my life. Just out walking down the street or just bouncing a basketball with no hoop in sight. That just wasn't part of the program. And my father was from the South and military, right? So every minute is accounted for. Idle time. My grandmother used to talk about idle time. We didn't have idle time. So you went to school, you came home. When you hit the door, you had to get a snack. I tell people that here in my house right now, and it blows their mind. You had to get a snack, and you did homework from 2:45, 3 o'clock to 6:30. That was my entire upbringing.
Jeez.
There was no telephone call. Alex, if someone called the house, I wasn't allowed to pick up the phone. Somebody else would pick up the phone and tell me if I'm getting on the phone or not. These are the days that we didn't have cell phones. So that was out of the picture. There was only one way to connect with me. Average person now has 5 or 6 email accounts. Back then you had 0. So unless you call that number at the house and get me, but every call was screened. Every kid that I had a relationship with, I called a friend my parents knew, or they knew their parents. They would have conversations with their parents. If I left, Alex, if you and I were boys, right, growing up, and I left to ride my bike to your house, I had to get to your house, go in, make a telephone call from your house to let my parents know where am I at. And then that was they knew 12 to 15 minutes to get to Alex's house. So if I'm gone 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and I haven't talked to anybody, we got problems. Somebody's gonna have a conversation with me. Now you taking advantage of a certain kind of privilege. So when I went to college, man, you playing ball. It wasn't hard for me to make a decision on where I'm gonna spend my time, who am I gonna be around, who am I not, when I need to study. So when I got to college freshman year, right, at 7:00 p.m. on the dot,
0700, right?
0700, bro. My dorm room door closed, and I locked the door. I put a note outside. If someone came to knock on that door at 7:30, 7:15, 7:01, I was studying, man. I didn't stop what I was doing to say, hey, what's up? See, I left Chicago, went somewhere for an education, man. I was focused on that. And then, you playing ball, man. Every day that you're studying, you're like dead tired. And in my freshman year of college, we had 23 days in a row of over 100 degrees. And we're in camp, right?
Hold on. Where'd you go to school again?
I went to school in Missouri. In Missouri.
Oh, Missouri.
So we had, and our coach didn't care about heat. Our first coach didn't care.
Second, back in the day, right?
Run you at 6 o'clock at night when the sun went down. First coach will run you like there was no heat, temperature, or any kind of anything. We'll just make sure the coaching, the training staff got you more water, but you were running. So every night I'm doing homework. I'm like fading, man. Like,
oh yeah.
And it's the same thing when you start traveling and moving around. I think I learned at an early age on how to manage time. That's what I was talking about earlier. How to manage my time, and how my parents were big on how do you make decisions. Because one day they would tell us, my brother and I, we're not going to be sitting there to say, no, you shouldn't do that, or you should do that, or no, you shouldn't be around that person, or no, you shouldn't do this. And then I hope everybody out there knows, and I'll say this: when you go to school, there are a lot of things that are around you that are not good for you, not good for anybody. There's a lot of alcohol. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of stuff all around you all the time. You have to make the decision as the athlete. I think a lot of these athletes come out of school being around that, getting used to that. They go to the pros. They have way more funds and a lot of people around you suggesting stuff. Where I went to school, you had a few people suggesting things. You could jump into that boat if you wanted to, or you could just walk away. And a lot of times I would be in situations with people where I would just decide I'm gonna go back to my dorm room, or I'm gonna go back to my apartment. I'm not even gonna
You're grounded. You were grounded with
ground.
who you were, right? Like your parents instilled that
Yep.
at an early age. Sounds like your dad was very, if I had to guess, right? Like very,
Nonsense, man.
no nonsense.
High expectations. Expected for me to go to school and be a student first, athlete second. Mom was on the same page. Both having conversations with us all the time about different things. Especially as you grow, your interests become very different than they were when you were younger. What do you do? What are you still doing now? My father set me down before I went to college. I love him for this and much more. But he set me down. My father went to a junior college. Didn't go to a 4-year school. Had a bunch of family stuff going on, but he couldn't finish school. But some kind of way he had the foresight where he could talk to me about what you're going to see at a 4-year school. What are the things that's going to come to you as a student athlete outside of the classroom, and what you need to avoid? He had that conversation with me one night, broke a lot of stuff down. You're going to see this, you're going to see this, you're going to see this. And Alex, I went to school, and I'm telling you, man, it was like, how did he know that?
Oh yeah, he's literally it's like a script that he wrote that you're actually in the movie in now.
How do you know this is going to happen? How do you know that person's going to say this in this conversation? And it just helped me, prepared me for really not getting involved in the nonsense, man.
Oh, 100%. Your sword was sharp. You walked into it with your armor on, and so here's a question I got: is how much of that has carried over into you being a parent now?
Oh, a lot. A lot. I start with like junior 6. I have conversations with him about stuff.
Yeah.
He's talking about, thinking about. We think similarly on some things. So I can kind of guess sometimes by the expression on his face what he's thinking about. And then he'll look at me and give me a smirk as if he doesn't know. I'll tell him all the time, some of the stuff you're doing, man, it comes from a place. I kind of I've been on that road. I've seen certain things, and it will continue. We'll continue to have conversations. And I had a relationship with my dad, and I still have one with my mom, where we could talk about anything, man. Anything under the sun. I mean, I remember calling him from different places I lived, and we have conversations about some real stuff. It wasn't like I need to keep anything from him. I would like for my kids to feel the same way. Right. There's no judgment. Let's have a conversation.
Right.
Because I think when people know that the conversations comes from love and I want to help you, then it's very different.
I agree. And like, I'm noticing, I think the older you get, the more you notice like how uncommon that really is.
Very.
It's not extremely common to have that type of a relationship with your parent, but that's how it is with my mom. It's kind of like not the sexier answer or whatever, but I feel like everyone has that bond with their mom. But there's never one time where I felt like uncomfortable talking about anything. Like even when I mess up or just whatever the case may be, even if it's some dorky ass shit, right, that I just want to talk about. Like we'll talk about it. And she'll be open minded enough to like listen and assess like what I'm saying. And I have to work on that like a lot sometimes. Like especially if it's something that's outside of my realm of understanding. I have my brain just has a hard time with it. Like for instance, Wiley, right? He likes to get into the tech of a lot of things, like the back end of our website being an example, spreadsheets, Google Doc, like stuff that like I just like fucking don't want to do. Like my brain doesn't want to go there because I just don't. It's just not my comfort zone, So I'm trying to work on this, and I still see it from my mom a lot. Just be more open minded to things that I don't understand, or that I don't even necessarily agree with. Right. So I think that's important. I think that's huge, man. Especially in the climate of the world right now.
It's
all these crazy things.
It is huge. And what I try to do, Alex, is that if I feel that way about something, like with the channel, sometimes you have to. There's things you don't know. Like you got to do some research. I try to reserve research time. I try to reserve a certain block of time while I'm digging into learning something new. And it helps
Mm.
my mind. It helps my mind go from trying to be creative. Like if I'm trying to be creative about something, and then you ask me to dig into um, a microphone or the compatibility of something that you want to something else, and or how do you download something or anything like that, I gotta block that into research time.
Mm.
And when I start digging into research time, I'm going all in on research.
That's the thing, man. It's like there's so many different things that you can get your hands on now. Like as opposed to back in the day, it's like I'm gonna go to the library, I'm gonna check out a book on quantum physics. Like, and that's what I'm choosing to focus my time. Now you can end up on quantum physics for the next 10 minutes. Like you can go to sports analytics for the next like 10 minutes. It's like you got to really compartmentalize this walk through life. And I think that's the one thing that I think everybody's going to run into, right? There's too much information we have access to.
Yes.
Like think about the course of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone from sports, cars, to sports, to wife,
Parenting, all
to
kinds of stuff.
parenting.
Being a
Yeah, I mean,
child.
but these things are important to me, and they're relevant to my life,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Parenting being one of them. If you're not people who aren't parents out there watching, right? Like probably
They
probably can't relate so
zoned
much to this,
out.
you know? Yeah,
It's
they're
all
probably tuned out. But what they'll circle back because this will still be on here in what a few years from now and be,
yeah.
oh shit. FD and Alex were talking about some
Talking about
damn.
upbringing and raising. That's what my grandma.
Oh yeah.
Upbringing and raising tonight, huh?
Well, oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's fun though. It's actually it's like a chess game constantly with parenting and uh, just like anything else you do. You put that investment in and you start to see the results. It's very gratifying.
Just like, I don't talk about this a lot, but I met G. G was 7.
Mm.
It's special to see who he is right now. Even compared to when we first walked into the first show. His sister came home this weekend. She because of COVID, other things. We live in LA, but she lives in her own place. And so we went out to eat the other day with a person in the hobby. And she said, oh, it kind of surprised me when G walked in and went right up to the hostess and told them how many was here. And he wouldn't have done that before.
Mm.
A little bit more assertive about certain things. I talk to him about this all the time. You meet somebody, old school principles, firm handshake, yes sir, no ma'am. Listen before, especially when older people, are talking. Listen some. You can jump in that conversation, but just listen to people. You might pick up something, learn something. It's cool to see who he is developing into, and I'm humbled to have any part of that. To be able to talk to him about stuff and raise a young person to become a young adult to then start moving on. Because these years are very important for him. Very. I mean, he can make a decision tomorrow, change the rest of his life. And when he was a child, it wasn't. When he was real young, it wasn't like that. You on that train that everybody has you on. You do this every day.
Right.
Now he got to start making some decisions for himself. As my father would say, or something like some older men in my family, you got to turn a young man into a man. It's like you got to turn a young lady into a grown woman. And that's when you start plucking that fruit, right? My father and I used to talk about that. Start plucking that fruit off the trees. Yeah.
Fruit of your seed, right?
That's right. So it's all
and
about.
That's the real investment in life. If I could sit everyone down and have a conversation with everyone, because we met through the hobby. I feel like the narrative of our conversation is mostly hobby and sports, right? But if I could sit there, everybody down and let them know, we're all trying to accomplish and do different things. We're all trying to get to a different, our own destination. But you gotta understand what the real wins are and what the kind of your subjective lens. What you believe is what you need to be doing, or you need to have this, accomplish this, do this, that, the other. Like you'll realize real quickly once you get it, once you get there to where you want to be, like, and everything you had to sacrifice. Um, it's things like that. Like for you, I know I can tell by just talking to you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge accomplishment. Like a
Well,
huge
one thing I
win.
learned in life, one thing I learned years ago, and I already kind of knew this, but it starts hitting home when you start moving around the country and living places by yourself. And you may live somewhere that your parents never visited, stuff like that. You just doing your thing. You living your life.
Yeah, that's Chico. That's Chico for me.
Yeah, everybody, most people come through that road where you start doing stuff that you tell your parents about or you tell your family about. Do you make decisions? This is something I had to realize. Do you make decisions and do things because that's what someone else expects for you to do? Or is that what you want? Just that simple.
Yeah.
You know, it could be the same thing in the hobby. Like, if I'm out, am I buying a certain car because that's what this person told me to buy?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I buying a certain car because I understand what I'm looking for here? Well, when I look at a table, man, I can look at a table real quick. It can have 100 cars on it. In a few seconds, I can understand which car I'm going to ask a question about. And I don't have to go through. I can just look and squeeze. There's some stuff there that's probably, and then if I ask the price and somebody tells me the price, oh, this is a great deal off top. Maybe let's check out the condition of the car or something like that. But I know why I want the car. If you ask me a question, I think more people can make decisions for themselves on what they actually like. Now, some work that can, you got to know what you want. How do you think? How you feel about yourself? All that stuff leads up to this. But then when you get to that point, it's like then the decisions are easier. Let me say easier.
It's constant. I mean, it's constant. Like educating yourself constantly, constant work to really be safe. And I see it, and like I've caught myself just doing countless amounts of different parallels, different this, different that, and how you when there's no comps, right? Let's say there's no comps on something. Like, how do you justify that price? How do you justify paying that price? Well, who's comparable at that time in their career? Like who, like were they as marketable? Like we've talked about before. There's so many different factors when investing your money in this hobby, which I think is the cool part of it.
I love that too.
That's why with that lower number, low pop stuff, when there's not much comparable stuff, or the last comp was like a year ago, or 6 months ago. You're relying on, okay, how much knowledge do you really have? And if it's equity that you're looking for in something,
yes.
And then let's just say all your research was on point. You did everything you could do. You made the right play, and he tears his ACL or something. There's a little bit of risk factor in everything that we do.
Yeah.